Sponsored by Tech Reload UK. Check out the purchasing links in the description below.
Is a portable electric air pump.
But before I show you this, you need to like my video and subscribe.
So now it's okay?
There's just one more thing you need to do, and that is to click on the bell so that you get a notification when a new video comes out.
I hope it's okay.
Perfect.
It's a micro design, detachable battery, fast charging, long standby time, 4 months. That's quite good, but I would rather have it lasting more than 4 months on standby. It's got emergency light on there and it's a power bank. Now the reason why it has a time limit on the standby time is because the batteries will discharge over a time, or circuitry will discharge over time. It has a built-in TPMS, tyre pressure monitoring system, but they shouldn't really use that symbol, but then that's the symbol on the car. This would indicate that it can monitor the tyres without you having a device connected to it. It will have some kind of sensors, which it doesn't do. It inflates your tyre. It's got a hand pump on there, and I don't know why they've used a hand pump, because this isn't a hand pump. It's got the LED lights, and that's the symbol for a floodlight. Rechargeable battery, heavy duty. It's got muscles on there. That doesn't really mean heavy duty, and it's a built-in power bank. Got a picture of someone cycling on there, but it can also be used for cars, I'm hoping. And we can see a picture of a car on there, so it'll work on mopeds or electric motorcycles, but not petrol or diesel motorbikes, I don't think. I'm assuming you can do. The capacity can blow up 8 to 12 tyres. With bicycles, it can do 20 tyres in 45 seconds or 10 tyres in 75 seconds, depending on the size, if it's a 5 kilo tyre or a 7 kilo tyre. I'm guessing you measure bicycle tyres in kilos, and then it says 700 times 23C is the specifications for the bicycle. I don't know what any of that means. For the tyre, use an example of a R17 214/45. R17 is the diameter, so that's a 17-inch wheel. My tyres are 18-inch, and then you've got 214 is the width of the tyre, and then the 45 is the profile height, which is basically a standard tyre. So this is the dimensions for a generic tyre. So it's using a Corolla as an example, but yeah, those specifications are common. Going from 0 to 230 kilopascals, I don't know how many psi that is. It takes 8 minutes, and you can do that 1.5 times. If you're going from 200 to 230 kilopascals, it will take 5 minutes, and you can do that twice. And again, I don't know what that is in psi, so that will be kind of low and it needs topping up. And from flat, it's going to be quite difficult. You shouldn't really pump the tyres up from flat. You shouldn't really go that low. We've got a sharp attachment there, which is for balls. I don't know what this one's for. We've got that one, and again, I don't know what they're for. We've got a USB cable. It could be micro USB. And then we've got this attachment here, which is for car tyres. So we've got item home use car, which is the sedan / hatchback car. Suggestion for range of tyre pressure 2.2 to 2.5 kilograms per cubic meters. Again, I only know PSI. You can do SUVs, bicycles, so it's got the specification on there. But for cars, you need to look at the specifications for the car, which is usually between 23 to 32 psi. You can put 40 psi on there, and on some bicycles you can do 50 psi. You shouldn't go past the specification, but it depends. And it also tells you to please follow the air pressure standard of the car tyre. So again, you need to refer to either the owner's manual or the label that's attached to the car. And again, for the bicycle, these are generic information. It's not really relevant to the tyre that you're inflating. On this side, we've got a quick guide. So the bottom is the battery, which is the power bank. I don't know what that one means, and then it's got an example of how to connect it, and then you put it in and you press the button and you can charge your phone up. We've got an instruction manual, which I don't need to use. We have like a velvet type bag which has a drawstring. we got a high pressure tube here, and this is the locking mechanism. So you'll put that onto the valve, which I think is called Schroeder valve or something like that, and then you would push it in this way, or you can push it in that way, and that would push the valve in and let the air out. But because you've got this attached, the air wouldn't go out, so it'll allow the air to go in. We got a very thin USB cable. It's a micro USB. We've got another thin piece of foam, and then we've got two items. First one is the power bank. We got 5V 1A output, and then we got the micro USB for charging. We've got a button here which will show the LED indication, and no lights came on, so this is probably dead. We've got 4 holes for the screws, and then we've got large metal strips. So these two will be for the power. I'm not sure what the 2 smaller ones will be for. It will be a locking mechanism, so you'll slide it in and then twist it. Now for the main unit, we've got a plus and a minus button. That's probably going to set the pressure. That'll be quite good. You could leave this running and then it will stop when it reaches the pressure. There's a button which says U on there, and a on off button. We've got some rubbery type plastic grips on the sides, and then we've got a compartment here which holds all the attachments, including the ball attachment, which is this thin one here. So I'm not sure what these other ones are for. And then you've also got this one as well, probably for inflating an air mattress or something like that. I don't know. So these will never get used. It's mainly this one here that's going to get used. So obviously this isn't going to turn on. It can't turn on. It needs to have this connected. There's an arrow there, which means that I need to match it up with this arrow here, line them together and then twist it righty tighty. When you do that, these holes will all line up. This probably won't turn on. No, that didn't turn on. Okay, so I'm going to have to charge this up and then come back to this later. You got the red LED indicator here to show that it's charging, and then the first LED or the last LED, depending on which way you're looking at it, is flashing. This will be to show the charge indication. So if I take this off now, so it should have some charge on there. It's not been on for that long. If I press that, it shows we're on the first bar. Okay, that is now charging at a rate of 1A from the laptop's USB port. Maybe I could use a power bank from a previous unboxing video to get more than 1A. We're now at the second flashing light, which is quite quick, but I don't think it is really at the second flashing light. So this was at 17%. Let's stick this on here, see what we get. Again, that's at 1A, so it charges at 1A. It probably said that on the specification and I kind of ignored it. The input is between 1 to 3 amps. The battery capacity is 1A power, and it's got times 3, so it's probably got 3 cells in here. They're not 18650 cells because that's not long enough. Okay, so can I turn it on now, or will it not turn on because it's charging? Actually, I can turn it on. So we got kilopascals on there. It's got 2 lines on there. So we got 2 dots on there. So U could be units, so let's change that. So now it's on kilograms per centimeter squared, PSI. So I know what PSI is, and we can, which is not the same as KSI. The next setting is bar, so that's another unit. I think tire pressure is about 2.2 bar. Kilopascals is rarely used in the UK. Oh shit, that just scared me, and that says, okay, why did that happen? I didn't turn it on. Okay, PSI, not press up and down. If I press and hold U, we've got the LED on there, which is a torch. If I turn the recording lights off and the room light off, we do have a wide range of light. Let me show how it is like that. It's not really a flashlight. The light's turned off. Keep holding the U button. It's got an auto power off, so the display turned off. So you'd have to turn it on, then press the next button next to it, which is the U. It's decent enough for what you're going to use it for. It's not a torch that you're going to navigate with, but it is suitable for trying to. So to adjust the PSI, I'm going to set it to 32. We've now got 3 bars on there, and the final one is flashing, so I don't know if that's fully charged. In fact, I can put the charge doctor on here, and then if the power consumption is still 1A, it's still charging. In fact, it is still charging. So this power gauge goes up quite quickly, but the actual capacity is not there, so that might be based on the voltage rather than the actual capacity. Let's see if we can figure out how to turn it on. So we press that once to turn it on. It's measuring 0 psi as the pressure. Well, it's not connected to a tyre. I'll press that again. The pressure is currently 1 psi. That's the airflow that's going in. So let's switch this off. I'm not going to set this to 32 psi. Let's set the psi to maybe 1 psi, maybe, because I'm planning on putting my finger on the end. Can I keep hold? Yes, I can. Okay, half a psi. So when the pressure gets to half a psi, it should stop. Well, that's not going to work because the minimum psi was 1. So let's just increase that to 1.5. Maybe it needs to be higher. Okay, let's set that to 5 psi, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to put my thumb on the end. Okay, so the pressure is a bit higher and it doesn't automatically start. It does automatically cut out, so you can leave this unattended. With normal air compressors, you can't leave it unattended. You have to keep monitoring this. So if this range is quite accurate, then it is very good. So I'm just going to set this up back to 32 psi, and then later on I can adjust it to the car spec when I have a chance to read what it should be. Whilst I'm here, I'm not going to open up the electronic section because it'll just be some components which we'll be able to measure. No, actually I should do, because I can have a look inside. So the first section I want to have a look at is the battery side. I just want to see what kind of battery technology is inside here. Okay, so that section lifts upwards. That's stuck in somehow. It is a square battery pack, and I might or might not be able to remove this, and in fact I have done. So we got the charging components here, a couple of inductors, 2 connections, one going to the batteries and then one going to this plate. Looking at this, we got the one connected to the center and one connected here. These 2 are probably connected to the same one as the center one. It's nothing special. But I'm not going to be able to see what kind of battery cell this is, unless there's this foam here to stop any vibrations, but if there's no writing on here I won't know what's what. I won't know what it is. Okay, so the battery manufacturer is Tosim, and it's 11 volts rated at 1 amp, which means this is 11.1 watts. Date code on here is 28th of April 2019 in Chinese format, so it's a Chinese battery cell. So this battery pack is 11 watt hours. These inductors would step up the voltage from 5 volts all the way up to the 11 volts that's required. Right, so now I need to put this back in and try and remember how everything went. If you do have a USB charger in the car, then you can charge it up, so it's not the end of the world. In fact, you could have it connected so every time you power up the car it will top up the battery, so you can use this in an emergency. These two holes here probably line up with this, with two dimples here to lock it into position so it doesn't move anywhere, so those contacts don't do anything. This should slide outwards. That's quite difficult to take apart. I'm not sure what's holding it together. It could be friction fit and I need to do both ends at the same time. So the next shot would be to test this out on the car. The first thing I need to do is look at the tyre dimensions. So I've got 245, 40, R18. I can ignore the 93 white, and the rear tyres are the same. This is important to know the numbers. On the inside of the doors it tells us the tyre pressures and the tyre sizes. So that one is mine, 245 40 R18. The front is between 33 to 35 psi and the rear is 30 to 38 psi. So I'm going to put 35 in both tyres. So this is the dust cap. We can see that the PSI is 25, so that's under spec. So I need to increase that. $35, and then I think it was this button. This will automatically stop when it gets to the air pressure. And it stops automatically. The front tyre is at a higher pressure of 27.5, so this one needs less pressure than the rear ones to top up. That stopped because there's no battery left and it's quite warm. It's been over 5 hours. The tyre pump has stopped charging, it's trickle charging, and it's put 2600 milliamp hours into the battery pack. This rear tyre is 24 psi. This front one is 25 psi. Run out of battery again. I put 2 amp hours into the pump. That should be enough to finish off the front 2 tyres. One was on 34 psi, the other one I think was 32.5 psi, which would mean that I've got 35 in all 4 tyres. The front one is meant to have more than the rear ones, but it depends on how much stuff you've got in there as well. So I've just put in a number somewhere near the middle. So I'll quickly fill up the car with air. I've taken the car for a spin. The handling is improved quite a lot. The car no longer wants to drift when I go around bends and roundabouts a bit too quick than I should do. Still within the speed limit. And also the steering feels a lot lighter. When going over speed bumps, it feels much softer, and I'm assuming it'll be a lot better when I take the car on the motorway, but I don't have any plans on doing that at the moment. If you've liked this video and found anything useful, leave a thumbs up. If you haven't done already, please subscribe and click on the bell for more notifications. And could you also like my Facebook page, and I'll see you next time.